and I think you're going to really enjoy hearing them. Some of you may go home and have trouble sleeping because they may scare you a little bit with the truth, but you need to hear it anyway, and the American people need to hear it. And so with that, I would like to introduce our MC for today, Mr. Steve Bannon, Executive Chairman of Breitbart News, and a true patriot.
Thank you. I was gonna do some opening remarks, but we're a little behind, so my job today is to keep us on schedule, and so I'm going to be cracking the whip. Just real briefly, we've had an opportunity to start a new radio show, a daily show on Sirius XM every day. Thank you for listening. The show's very different. It's a new show, but it's really audience-driven. We have guests, etc. Some media executives, because the show's grown quite rapidly in the couple of months it's been up, we're listening in the second month, and they came back to me and they said, "Your guests are amazing. Your reporters and the people you bring in from the world, from London and Jerusalem and all your bureaus from Texas are incredible. But we can't tell the difference between the callers and the guests and the correspondents. The callers are that good." I had, just to check this, we had a mainstream media from the liberal media, major newspapers, is doing some research in this entire area. So I told him, I said, come and just sit in studio on an average day. We'll just pick a random day. And he was blown away. He said, your posse, this crew is mocked and ridiculed as low information voters, vulgarians, xenophobes, nativist, racist, know-nothings. And that's by the Republican Party and the pundits, right? He was absolutely blown away. He said, these are not low information voters. These are some of the highest, most sophisticated comments I've seen. Breitbart's exploded over the last year and a half. We're the 14th largest publisher in the world. I think we're the 19th biggest news site in the United States. It's not only because of the great correspondence, and you're going to hear A.W. Hawkins on guns today, Peter Schweitzer on crony capitalism. We've got a whole posse, Matt Boyle here, our entire team covering this. This is our 5th year of working with Joe to cover it. The thing is that we have almost 6 million comments a month. It's the 4th largest site in the world in comments. And if you go into the comments section, you hear a reasoned, hot debate about what's going on in the country, what's the direction of this country. Joe's theme about the next president of the United States is going to be up here, it's absolutely true. I don't know if it's going to be Ben Carson or Rick Santorum or Governor Huckabee or Donald Trump or Ted Cruz. And the reason is you. You have begun a political revolt that's many years in the making. 2010, when the Tea Party started in 2009, 2010, at that time, one of the biggest off-year election victories in history, it was the Tea Party election, remember? Nothing changed, but think about if you hadn't had that revolt and gotten those people in, where we would be, right? 2012, Mitt Romney's not president of the United States for one reason, and Sean Trendy at Real Clear Politics told you what it was. 5.5 million working class, middle class, and evangelical voters did not show up, right? They're tired of being dictated to, they're tired of being told what to do, and they did not come. We lost that election because of that. June 2014, Eric Cantor, absolutely stunning, by a great American hero, Dave Brett. The mainstream media, the conservative media didn't know his name on the evening. Eric Cantor had started the year in January. Where did he start his campaign? Where did he start? In Davos, right? The World Economic Summit. When they had to chase him around, he was having breakfast with all the swells and the investment bankers and the guys from the EU, right? The same guys have allowed the complete collapse of the Judeo-Christian West in Europe. That crowd, Eric Cantor is right there. The voters of Virginia threw him out with a guy that raised a total of $200,000. Eric Cantor had a dinner. Remember? He had a dinner. He spent 4 times Dave Bratt's entire campaign budget on one dinner. Ebola, ISIS, and the surge of illegal alien children in the summer of 2014 had President Obama on the ropes. He went in front of the American people. They were so disorganized with the horrific address in September 2014 to try to justify his military policy, which he picked, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Yemen and Somalia as his great examples. Yemen and Somalia. You guys can laugh at the time. You know why? Because your sons and daughters are the ones over there fighting. In November of 2014, the biggest blowout in the history of American congressional politics. 252 seats, the Senate. By the way, at the working level, at every state, a complete evisceration of the Democratic Party across the board. President Obama's complete agenda totally rejected by the American people. Look, I'm a former naval officer. I was a naval engineer, a navigator. My general quarter station was officer of the deck. I went to Harvard Business School and then Goldman Sachs. I understand one thing, mathematics, and the application of mathematics to the real world. The empirical evidence is undisputed that you represent what the American people want and what they want in their leaders, what they want in their government. There's no question about that. And you're continually stabbed in the back, mocked and ridiculed by your betters. Since November 2014, you have to give President Obama credit. He stood up the next day and said, bring it. Bring it. I'm going to have, and by the way, last week there are many great news reporting organizations said he's had the greatest second term since FDR and Lincoln. Well, FDR and Lincoln in their second terms won the Civil War and was on the path to win World War II. And President Obama has had 9 or 10 executive orders, not one of them, not one time stood up by the Republican establishment. The victory that you gave with your $50 donations, ringing doorbells, going to rallies, completely eviscerated. And at the beginning of this campaign, you are mocked and ridiculed again. Every pundit on every TV station, oh, it's going to be President Christie or President Rubio or President Ryan or President Bush or President Kasich, right? On and on and on. These other guys don't have a chance, no chance. As the empirical evidence builds every day, they mock and ridicule you more. Look at today. Do you know why the New York Times and BBC and the Chinese papers and the Wall Street Journal, do you think they want to come to Myrtle Beach in the middle of winter, as great as Myrtle Beach is, right, on a Saturday in January? They're here because they have to be here. And they have to be here because they understand as much as they mock and ridicule you, you're a proxy for the American people. Of the candidates that will come here today, I think the math is 2/3 to 70%. If you add it all up, it's 2/3 to 70%. You could give the establishment a standing 8 count right now. By the way, the 2/3, the 70% to 30%, you also have to keep in consideration the establishment candidates have spent over $100 million in television ad to try to get low information voters, rubes, nativists, xenophobes, know-nothings, to see their point of view. You have rejected it out of hand. The theme of this today is, whom do you trust to lead us? Or look, there are many great gentlemen coming up here in the next couple of days, and women, if Carly Fiorina makes it. But I think as Lao Tzu said, when the people do the work, they turn around and say, look what we accomplished. It's no doubt. The future of the country is going to be decided in the next 6 or 8 weeks, right? And it's going to happen in rooms like this. People back home understand what the media executives and the reporter that sat into that control room and listened. The raw knowledge, commitment, and passion of the working men and women in this country. It's an honor for us to be at Breitbart, to serve you. But now I want to tell you, by the way, they keep saying, oh, we have to add, we have to do this, we have to do this. Your values are terrible. No, and they assume that you're just going to go along and vote against your own interest and your children's interests year in and year out. What they don't understand about your anger is that it's not just about your children, your grandchildren. It's certainly not about yourself, because you would never ask anything yourself. You're the one group in this country understands what we owe to the past. What we owe to the backbreaking labor that it took to build this country from a wilderness to the greatest nation in the history of the earth.